student organization at Penn State. It's called Global Brigades. I am a student leader. I'm an undergraduate student currently. I'll begin with a brief kind of introduction of who we are as an organization and who I am in that context within that organization. So to begin, Global Brigades Association, we are the world's largest student-led global health and sustainable development movement. It's a bit of a mouthful. What that basically means is that we have offices from an international nonprofit standpoint. We have offices in the United States, Canada, UK, Germany, Switzerland, and Ireland, I believe. And we serve communities in Honduras, Panama, Nicaragua, and Ghana from a very various standpoints, from medical perspective, from economic projects such as business or microfinance projects. We have water infrastructure projects, et cetera, et cetera. Here at Penn State, we are a network of 7 chapters representing 10 different disciplines, or 10, I guess, areas of focus. And recently we've also incorporated a single governing council to kind of unify those 7 chapters and 2 committees that work on local projects in the State College region. But the disciplines that we do focus on include architecture, business, and microfinance, which have kind of merged, environmental, human rights, medical, dental, again merged, public health, and water, with the new 10th discipline being engineering, which is a new development just this year, so we're excited about that. And collectively as a whole, we very amorously call ourselves brigades or brigaders, and we define that as groups of passionate volunteers who mobilize towards positive social change. So we're a group of students who are all primarily undergraduate students, some graduate students who have come together really trying to help the world create good, whatever that means to each individual. And again, I'm Tiffany Cole. I serve as the campus chairperson for Global Brigades this year. So it's my job to really connect and coordinate the efforts of all of our programs and chapters that we have at Penn State, and kind of manage the different events that we do have throughout the year. So how we started. We started as a student organization at Penn State back in 2007. The international nonprofit is actually a very young organization. It began in 2004, so we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary, so congratulations to the baby organization growing up. But our primary goal as a student organization back in 2007 was really to conduct service trips abroad. That was the only thing we did, that was the only thing we knew. And that was really the only thing that the overall parent organization really focused on as well. It was essentially getting university students to these locations abroad, to these communities, to conduct a project, very short term, for 7 to 10 days. Once that project was done, the students go back home, and then the student aspect, or the student involvement, really ended after that service trip. And while there was continuous work going on in the communities, there wasn't really continued engagement on the student perspective at universities. And so our campus involvement really focused around fundraising for service trip materials. For example, the projects that we conduct require materials. If you're building a water project, a water tank, you need the materials. You need the wood, the concrete, the things that physically compose this project. For the medical projects, we need medications, we need doctors, we need devices, medical tools, and all of these things needed to be paid for. So throughout the year, we did a lot of fundraising for those trip materials. We also allowed fundraising to reduce the cost of travel for students. We're college students, we don't have infinite bank accounts, so we do want to make this accessible to students. So we gave them a lot of opportunities to fundraise throughout the year, have bake sales, sell t-shirts, so that they can reduce the cost of their trips, so that it's much more accessible to a wide range of students. So, and then our meetings, we had bi-weekly meetings that were comprised primarily of trip information. So it really came down to, well, it's October, okay, your next payment deadline is in 2 weeks, and then our trip is in a month, yay, we're so excited, and we've purchased all our materials, and well, at the next meeting, we'll just continue talking about trip stuff. But then, with this entire model, we came across a few problems. So, number one being, students would come to our organization saying, we love what you do, we love the work that you're involved in, we love this general theme of global efforts and really communicating with communities abroad, and everything that kind of this organization speaks to. We love it all. But I don't have the opportunity to travel. I can't fit in travel into my academic schedule this year. I'm too busy. I'm doing other taking advantage of other travel opportunities. So for the students that didn't travel, we really didn't have much to offer because everything that we had done so far was so geared towards this travel aspect. And then the second primary issue we ran into was the level of education that people were coming into with these trips. People felt very unprepared when they went on these trips because there was minimal education leading up to it, and they were thrown into these environments, and it was often very different from what they were expecting. And also coming back, the education or that kind of debriefing moment wasn't there to decompress and really analyze what went on during that week, what happened, what did this all mean? I mean, I created a project, I worked on this water system, what was the impact on these communities, what does this all mean in the grand scheme, what's going to happen to these community members after I leave. There were more questions coming out of the trip than we had answers for. And so that led to a huge shift in what we were trying to do. So nowadays we have, as students, I'd like to think a new understanding of service. A greater distinction is placed on volunteering versus civic engagement. And so nowadays, traveling abroad is kind of the hot thing to do. It's the fun thing. Everyone comes to college wanting to travel abroad somehow. Whether it be a short-term embedded program, a club, or studying abroad, everyone hears about going abroad somehow. And so as more and more opportunities are available to students are looking at these opportunities and being more educated and allowing themselves to think critically and compare these different opportunities. And they're asking more of these opportunities. They're asking for more fulfilling trips. And they're asking for trips that not only, yes, get them abroad, but you don't want a one-semester extension of a spring break trip to Europe. You want something that's more meaningful, something more educational, something that's going to challenge you intellectually. And so volunteerism is a term that we kind of use to describe something like working in a soup kitchen, perhaps. You donate your time, you do good, as you'd like to say, but then you don't really engage in the community too much. It's very temporary. You don't think too much into the underlying social issues that created the poverty or the hunger that you're addressing through this soup kitchen volunteering service. Civic engagement, on the flip side, really takes a look at the communities that you're getting engaged with, that you're being involved with, the historical and political backgrounds that have created the situations that you're trying to address. So these communities in Honduras, Panama, Ghana, Nicaragua, what are the political backgrounds? What are the economic backgrounds? Why are these certain communities neglected by government services while others are not? So things like that, we put a lot more context into the projects that we do and give students an opportunity to really connect with the communities that they're working with rather than just donate their time and spit out a product at the end of the trip. So to mirror this kind of growing demand or more sophisticated demand of the students that want to get involved in traveling and volunteering, we've had a huge shift in our organization. So structurally, the different chapters used to be very, very functionally separate. So the Water Brigades Club would have meetings one day, one location. They would have their members, but then the medical dental group would have separate meetings, and then they would have their own members, and they never really communicated. Even though water issues and health and medicine are very intertwined, a lot of the medical cases that they see during the medical brigades stem from water sanitation issues and the parasites that are in these water sources that these community members are drinking. And to understand that, I mean, the Water Brigades Club can't necessarily address these water issues until understanding the impact that these diseases have on people's health. So they are very interconnected, but that communication never happened previously. And so we are structured as more of a unified network of clubs, so to speak, right now, as opposed to fragmented individual clubs. Next, marketing techniques. The way that we speak about our organization, the way that we advertise it, the way that we recruit new members has changed dramatically over the years. Ongoing research right now, that's involved in my undergraduate thesis is showing more and more that people are getting involved because, not because they want to travel necessarily, but because they want to learn more about international health and development. And so it's this educational component that they're hungering. And so when we advertise our club, when we look for new members, we stress, if you join our club, we're going to teach you, we're going to give you opportunities to learn more about these aspects that you're interested in and that you've shown interest in. And so we definitely speak about that. Educational resources, we definitely are trying to connect students more with other opportunities, because we are just one aspect of education. We are just one avenue by which people can get introduced to the fields of international health and development. There are a number of other ways, such as courses, academic programs, certificate programs, other volunteer opportunities, other study abroad programs, embedded programs that work so well with the Global Brigades organization that we have, and to really connect those students to those other opportunities. And we've had hundreds of members in the past who have gone on to do so many incredible things outside of Global Brigades. So we're really trying to create this database of information from past members and even current members that are really expanding upon their involvement beyond Global Brigades into similar fields and complementary fields. And then again, categorization within the university was very important. Previously, we were categorized as a service organization, but now we're really shifting towards becoming a special interest organization. And the terminology, I think, is very important, because the words we choose to describe or speak about an organization that we're involved in really speaks to how we feel about the organization and how we would like to be represented. We don't want to be represented as an organization that just does service. We want to be represented as an organization that has a specific interest, which is global health and development, and really encompass, yes, service is a part of what we do, but we do so much more. And so that's why we've chosen to use the terminology of a special interest organization. And so one of our new goals of this year, the previous year, or just very recently, is bringing education into pre-trip preparation, so that people feel prepared when they do travel with us, if they choose to travel with us. So last year, the medical brigades, because they are the largest, they kind of serve as the guinea pig of the group, but they incorporated the first ever formalized pre-trip curriculum that we've had. And so some of the topics that were covered were local, community, culture, and history. So I'm traveling to Panama. Okay, we're in Panama. Well, I'm traveling to the Darien region of Panama. What does that mean? It's very rural. It has a mix of cultural groups, whether it's the Latino groups or the indigenous populations. And so a lot of these things help put the trips and the projects into perspective and into that context, because that context is very important to preparing yourself for these experiences. We talked about sustainability of the project. So again, like, you work on a project for 7 to 10 days, but then what happens to the project afterwards? You see patients at a medical clinic, but what happens to those patients afterwards if we only travel to that community once a year? It's important to answer these questions so that students can go be involved in these projects with the comfort knowing that these projects are sustainable. They will not be abandoned just because our 7 to 10 day experience has concluded. And then we talk about practices of a good volunteer, little things to be aware of that people sometimes don't think about. There's an excellent documentary called First Do No Harm, and it's geared more towards medical students, as it was put together by a group of medical students who went and did a medical missions trip. But we like to use it for a lot of our brigade groups to say that, you know, if you are an ill-prepared volunteer, you can honestly do more harm than good. And so little things like paying attention to when you take pictures. You know, you are there, and sometimes you may not think because you're so engrossed in the moment and you think, this is such a cool opportunity, and this man has a broken leg and he's in pain, and oh, it's so real, I just want to take a picture of it. And you have to step back and realize this is a patient, it's patient privacy. You can't take a picture of a person, you ask permission first. There are procedures to be followed, and things that we kind of forget when we go abroad. So really making our students better volunteers before they travel instead of after the fact, after the faux pas have happened in country. And so this kind of formalized pre-trip curriculum is something that we've really tried to incorporate last year. And it's really exciting for us because this movement to kind of get members more educated before traveling has been mirrored in the international nonprofit. And the parent organization of Global Brigades has recently sent out formalized discipline-specific curricula to every chapter in the United States, in Canada, in Ireland, in Germany, everywhere. Every university that has a Global Brigades program now has formalized discipline-specific curricula at their fingertips that they can draw from and resources that they can pull from to educate their members before traveling, to make them better volunteers and better students in that context. And so our second big goal is really connecting members with other educational opportunities because, again, Global Brigades is not an all-encompassing organization. We can't handle everything. There are so many other great opportunities that are available to students, but they often don't know where to go or where to find them. And so instead of trying to wander through and find offices around Penn State where they don't know where the Global Programs office is, they don't know who to contact, but it's very easy for them to talk to their friend who is in this club with them and say, hey, what kind of things, I want to do a study abroad program, like what's a good one that you recommend? And that networking within students among the friendships that we've created through this club, this student organization, these trips that we've gone on together, it's a much easier way for people to network and people to spread ideas and spread knowledge of different opportunities. And so, again, we're trying to create a database of information pulling from past members and saying, what were opportunities that you did outside of Global Brigades that you thought were incredible, that you think other Global Brigades members would really love? And so on our website, we have a new updated website this year that it does include a whole list of courses taught at Penn State, research opportunities, major and minor programs of study, and even branching outside of Penn State. We have a list of certificate programs hosted by other organizations, other nonprofits, and we also like to open up discussion about postgraduate education because it's something that people are very interested in, and people don't necessarily, they always hear about Masters in Public Health, Masters in Business Administration, but they don't necessarily hear about the less popularized ones like the Masters in Public Administration or Masters in Public Policy. And then again, in campus involvement, we really like to get engaged with students in all different aspects. So we have themes, including documentaries, guest speakers, program spotlights, so a student from a medical discipline can understand what the business brigades does and see how those two disciplines really connect and interact. And we do coffee house discussions, bringing TED Talks, and so really getting people more intellectually engaged. That's basically what I have for you. This is the website if you are interested in seeing all the things that we do offer, and that's also my contact information. If you have any questions or would just like to keep the communication open and going.
Hey Tiffany, what year are you?
I'm a senior.
And what are your plans? I'm just curious to know.
I'm currently in the process of applying to medical school. I'd really like to, in the international context, my focus is health and disease. So after getting a med school education, I'd like to kind of re-enter that international realm and address rural health issues.
And can you tell us how projects are selected? Is it international or how do you pick your sites and your projects?
As far as the communities that are selected in which we work, there's a huge survey process that the international organization does. For example, with the water projects, there's a questionnaire that involves questions like how long does it take you to get to your nearest water source? How reliable is that? Are there like certain months throughout the year that the water source there's no water? How clean is the water source? And so they have these questionnaires for, again, every single discipline. Like a medical brigade questionnaire would be very different than, for example, measuring a community's needs for business projects. But essentially, they have these questionnaires. They rank these communities based off of some numbering system that they've developed, and then they essentially create a hierarchical measure of need for the community member or for the communities.
So if you go, if Penn State, I'm sorry, can you just, we're going to open the floor up to
Oh, I'm
questions.
sorry.
That's okay. So let's give Tiffany another round of applause.